All right, let's talk about one of the most popular bikes you see on the street, the Suzuki Gixxer. Now, there's a ton of information out there, reviews, specs, opinions, and honestly, it can get pretty confusing. So we've done the hard work, sifted through it all, and we're going to give you the clearest picture possible. Let's dive right in.
You ever feel like this when you're just trying to get some straight answers online? It's like hitting a brick wall. And yeah, trying to get a complete picture of the Gixxer, from how it performs to how reliable it is long-term, it can feel just as frustrating. But don't worry, we've broken through that wall for you.
So let's start at the very beginning. To really get what the Gixxer is all about, you gotta understand where it came from, its name, its history, and how it's evolved on the road. First things first, that name, Gixxer, it's not just some random word a marketing team come up with. Nope. It's a legendary nickname that riders themselves gave to Suzuki's incredible fire-breathing GSX-R superbikes. So when Suzuki rolled out their 150cc bike back in 2014, they borrowed that high-performance DNA and officially called it the Gixxer. It was a seriously smart move that gave the bike instant street cred.
And Suzuki didn't just let it sit there. A year after it launched, they dropped the SF, or sport fairing version, giving it that full-body, race-inspired look. Then in 2017, a huge safety upgrade, ABS. Fast forward to 2020, and it got a major facelift, with a more efficient engine for the new emission standards and slick new LED lights. It kept the bike fresh and competitive.
Okay, now for the heart of the machine, the engine. See, the Gixxer isn't just one bike. It's really a family with two very, very different personalities, and it all comes down to what's powering them.
And the difference between these two is massive. The 150 is air-cooled, has a 5-speed gearbox. It's a fantastic, zippy city bike. The 250, though, whoa, it's a whole other animal. It's oil-cooled for better performance when you're pushing it. It's got a 6th gear for the highway, and the jump in power is just huge. We're not talking a small step up here. This is a totally different ride.
You know, one reviewer put it just perfectly. He said, "You are literally getting double the power with the 250. That's not just an upgrade. That completely changes what the bike feels like underneath you."
But you know how it goes. All that extra power has to come from somewhere, right? And it usually comes from your fuel tank. The Gixxer 150 is the champ when it comes to sipping fuel, getting around 45 kilometers per liter. The 250, being the performance beast it is closer to 35. So it really boils down to a simple choice. Do you want power, or do you want to save at the pump?
Specs on a page are one thing, but how does the Gixxer actually feel when you're out on the road? Let's talk about that real-world experience, the comfort, the handling, and that all-important feeling of connection to the pavement.
We found a review from a long-term owner of the SF 250, and he really captured how versatile this bike is. The riding position is comfy enough for the daily grind in traffic. Someone around 5'7" can sit totally upright. But then you hit the open road, and it just transforms. It'll happily cruise at 110, 120 kilometers per hour and feels incredibly stable and planted while doing it.
And a huge reason for that planted feeling? It's the tires. The same owner said the stock tires felt very sticky, giving him this incredible sense of the bike just hugging the road. That kind of confidence is exactly what you want, especially in a sporty machine like this. So if you're thinking about upgrading or replacing those tires, you've got some amazing options. The Michelin Pilot Street is a killer all-rounder. Great grip, long-lasting. The MRF Revs is a solid choice if you love high-speed stability. And well, if you're all about carving up corners, the Pirelli Diablo Rosso 2 is pretty much top tier. Of course, going fast is only half the battle. You also need to stop. And here's another key difference between the two models. The Gixxer 150 has single-channel ABS, which only works on the front wheel. The 250 gets a bigger front brake disc and, way more importantly, dual-channel ABS. That means you get anti-lock protection on both wheels, which is a huge bonus for safety. Okay, so it looks good, it rides well, but what's it like to actually live with a Gixxer? Let's get into the long-term reality, and we're going to pull from that same owner's detailed review after 3 years and 35,000 kilometers on his SF 250.
The good stuff is really good. People love that it's a do-it-all kind of bike. Service costs are actually pretty low, and some of the stock parts, like the MRF tires, are surprisingly tough. One owner said his rear tire could easily last 40,000 kilometers. That's impressive. Plus, there are really active owner clubs out there, which is awesome for support. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. One of the biggest complaints we saw was about getting the bike serviced. Because Gixxers are usually sold in these premium city showrooms, if you live out in a more rural area, your closest authorized service center could be 100 kilometers away. That's a massive pain. And that leads us to reliability. See this number? 3, that's how many times that one long-term owner was left stranded on the side of the road. For a bike with that famous Japanese reliability tag, that's tough to hear.
So what happened? It was a mix of things, really. One time, an ignition coil failed. Another time, a sensor was put back in the wrong place during a service, which points to a quality control problem. And then the battery just died, out of nowhere, after only 9 months. These are the kinds of frustrating little problems that can really get under your skin. And I think this quote from the owner just perfectly sums up what it's like to live with this bike. It does so many things right, things that make you absolutely fall in love with it, but then you have these occasional, maddening issues that keep it from being perfect.
So, with all of that on the table, where does that leave you? This last part is all about figuring out which bike, if any, is right for you. And we'll take a little peek into what the future might hold for the Gixxer line.
Let's make this super simple. The Gixxer 150 is your bike if you're on a tighter budget, you want something lightweight and easy to handle, and getting the best possible mileage is your top priority. But if you are chasing that thrill, that performance, and you want the extra safety of dual-channel ABS and those aggressive, wider tires, the Gixxer 250 is without a doubt the one you want.
But hang on, before you run out to the showroom, there's a little twist in the tale. The Gixxer has been around for a bit now without a massive change, and there are some pretty strong reports suggesting that Suzuki is gearing up for a major overhaul of the whole lineup, probably landing in late 2026.
And what kind of overhaul are we talking about? Well, the rumors are pointing to some serious, feature-packed upgrades. Things like a modern, full-color TFT screen with Bluetooth, much better suspension, we're talking upside-down forks, and even better tires and brighter lights right from the factory. This would fix a lot of the little things that are starting to make the current Gixxer feel a bit dated.
Which leaves us with the big question. The Gixxer you can buy today is a proven, capable, and really fun bike, even with its quirks. But with a potentially massive upgrade just around the corner, you have to ask yourself, is now the time to buy the current model, maybe get a good deal on it, or is the best Gixxer still yet to come?